Welcome back to Inspiration Monday on Life and Style. I'm your host, Mukali, and that means it's time for Everyday Woman. Today we are at the Westgate, the pop-up market, and I have three geniuses with me. Why are you laughing? These three women have made sure that they will leave a mark. We will talk about them not just today, but in the years to come, because they are paving the way for other women to be at the places or even bigger places than they are today. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
But I'd like you guys to introduce yourself properly with everything, all the titles put in there, okay? So since Meka karibu na chicha. All right, this is your camera.
Hi, I'm June Gumo Kidenda. I'm an architect and a landscape architect and also a lecturer at the University of Nairobi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Engineer Lucy Wanjiku Mutinda. I studied mechanical engineering. I am the founder of EcoCycle Limited, where we turn sewage back to clean water that you can reuse for non-potable uses. I'm happy to be here. Non-potable, meaning not for drinking or for human consumption, but for secondary use.
I will ask that in a bit.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nekesa Were. I studied law, but I'm a self-taught techie, and I'm currently managing director at the iHub.
All right, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
The titles Miss Kela Kimi. I love that. I will not pretend that I know so much, so I'll just be over here asking questions like the person that I am. There were subjects that were for guys, and it wasn't because girls couldn't do it, but it was just like if you're in a girls' school, then it was like for the choppies, and they were the minority. The girls who would choose physics were few in my school, or probably chemistry was a compulsory subject for school, and I got a grade that wasn't that good, but then again, you see, I did very well in English.
Wow.
But maybe personal stories of how this journey began and you getting into a male-dominated industry to not just get in and do something, but actually outdo men and be on top of the food chain. I just want to hear a bit of that, and maybe we'll start with you.
Right, so like I mentioned, I studied law, so it's probably one of those mainstream, courses that you would expect for a lot of people to take.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it was just it was a period of confusion. What should I do versus what's expected? And at that time, it was either you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, and so on. And so I picked law. But after a while of doing it, it wasn't my happy place. You know, you've done with your day, and you're not happy at all. You don't feel like you've delivered. Yes. Okay. And so I started just questioning what really makes me happy. And for me, what made me happy was innovation, was operations, was thinking through solutions start to finish, was having something in your mind that you're able to express and see actually working in reality. And so I think for me it was then a natural progression to get into innovation. Okay. And I like to say that my stars aligned, and I met my then boss, who was looking for someone with my skill set and my passion. And initially our agreement was that I would help him set up operations for the iHub for 2 years, and then I could go back to what I was doing, because I was running a business back then. But I've been with the team for 7 years. Wow. And loving it. And I like to tell people, once you get into innovation, you kind of get stuck, regardless of what else you're doing. If you're a doctor, if you're an architect, the moment you walk into the iHub or any other innovation space, there's just something about it that just keeps everything so fresh, and you really just want to stay glued.
In question, were you exposed to these things before? How did you know, like, this is it for me, this makes me happy? Is it something that was around? I remember us talking about this earlier, and we're like, so what happened, what was there before the smartphones? And I don't know how long ago this was, but how was the space then, and how exposed were you?
So I wasn't very exposed initially. And the innovation community has been around for ages, for tens, maybe hundreds of years, I don't know. But the iHub is 9 years old now. And so for me, when the iHub was founded, then I became a member. I wasn't a techie yet, it was still law. I was running an operations and logistics company, but then it was so open. The values of the iHub, one of the main ones is openness, and so everyone is welcome to come because whatever your skill set is, it's complementary to what someone else is doing. And so because of that openness, I found myself at the iHub as a member and now exposed to techies, to creatives, and so having that first-hand experience, watching them work, how they think, how they produce stuff, how they speak, how they communicate, I just knew. I knew that I'd found home.
That was it.
I knew that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
June, what about you? What is your story?
I was very artistic as a child. I always was, and I loved drawing and coloring and just art in general. And from a very young age, I could kind of tell what went together, what didn't, in terms of color coordination, putting things together, building stuff, breaking them apart.
That's such a guy thing,
It was.
It's like, how do you put the radio apart and put it back together, and Dad doesn't even notice?
And my mom, she worried a lot because she felt I'm not doing enough girly stuff.
Yeah.
And then I always found myself playing, soccer or football with the boys instead of cutty with the girls, that kind of thing. But I wasn't a tomboy. Funny enough, I was a very girly girl. I liked looking pretty. I liked my hair being done, played around with makeup, all that stuff. So it was kind of like a conflict in a way.
Yeah.
And then my dad picked up on my love for just creating stuff. And because every birthday, I would make my parents' birthday cards. I would actually make them from when I was a child. And my mom has kept them for years and years and years. So when I was going to college, I remember my dad asked me, so what do you want to do? And I said, maybe I'll probably be a doctor. I knew I was saying that just, and he knew it. And he said, no, I don't want you to tell me what you think I want you to tell me. I want you to go do what you want to do. So then I toyed around with skin stuff, cosmetology, that stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I told him that, and he said he's not going to pay for that.
Wow.
So then
Straight up.
yeah, so then he asked me, why don't you just go to art school and then figure out what you want to do? Because he knew that's what I loved. So I went to art school for 2 years, and then I started getting drawn towards architecture and designing and all that. And then I went to architecture school, and then I graduated with my undergraduate degree. And then I started working, and then it wasn't enough. And I remember when I graduated, I was yelling and, telling everybody, I'm never going back to school. I'm never going back to school.
Yeah,
this
that
is
sounds
it.
very familiar.
Yeah, I said, this was so tough. I'm never going back. I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
And one guy, I can't remember his name, unfortunately, he said, you'll be the first person to go back to school. And I said, no, I'm never going back. I'm done, because I was so ready to be done.
Yeah.
I was the first person to go back. So I went back, got my master's, started working again, then worked and worked and worked, and then outside Kenya, and then moved back home. And when I moved back, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was actually very worried. And then I started practicing, like freelancing, and then I thought I could do more, And then I met somebody who asked me about teaching, and I had taught a little bit in South Africa. So I was like, I don't want to teach again, and so I just dragged it on for like a year, and then I said, okay, I'm going to go. They just kept calling, so that's how I got to teaching at the University of Nairobi, of all places. And I love it. I actually love teaching at the University of Nairobi. And then started my own company, The Fantastic Partner. And that's where we are now.
Engineer, have you ever noticed like the teachers at mwalimu, daktari, engineer? So you even forget the person's name. You're like, okay, so engineer.
Okay, so my story maybe is very similar, but mine, I think it's by creation. First of all, I'm the only girl in our family, so I grew up amongst 4 boys. So that automatically tells you what was my kind of job, games. And we grew up in the village, and actually in the village there's a lot of innovation. So we would make because I was in the football game, so our footballs were made out of some sisal and some recycled plastic paper that we would tie together and make balls. We had a lot of Kimbo Blue Band tins, and so we would make cars out of it.
Yeah.
So by birth, I was already, I think for me, I was a tomboy. I won't pretend, because even I liked to wear what the boys were wearing. And my mother was even supporting it. Like, she would go shopping for clothes or some sweaters, and there was no distinction between whether I'm a girl or a boy. I still have those photos, and we all laugh when we look at them. So that was one. And by the time I was even getting to high school, and if my classmates are watching, I remember something that was called the mall concept in chemistry. Like,
yes.
The teacher would walk in, and actually you see everybody is not excited, but here is Lucy excited to do the mall concept and go to the lab. I loved physics, I loved chemistry, but I also happened to be this person that would also dabble well in the linguistics, but while also being good in the humanities and languages and all.
Yeah.
I was totally inclined to the scientific side, and I enjoyed those subjects. By the time we were making our university choices, my mother really wanted me to be a doctor, because I think our late dad was a doctor, and maybe I looked like I could get the grades of a doctor. But I said, fine, I'll make it as the first selection. But all my other 3, or is it 2 choices, were all engineering. So when it finally came out, I don't know whether my mom was disappointed, but me, I was very happy to see that I had been called for mechanical engineering. And true to it, when I went to Moi University, I think I didn't disappoint her, and wherever she is right now, she is happy. So that was my journey. I graduated in engineering. Then in the first few years, I was fascinated about cars, but after moving into Nairobi, because I had been this village girl, I went to Mudedeni Girls, I went to Moi University, so my life was in the village.
Yeah.
But then here you are, you have to move into Nairobi to look for a job. And the one thing that really bothered me, I remember when taking my first application, I'm walking to go to the stage and I have to go over some sewer, some open sewer. That thing really bothered me when I moved into Nairobi. And in my heart, I would tell myself, since I studied engineering and I grew up in the village where the air was fresh, there were no these sewers, we had trees, I hope I can come across an innovation and come up with a solution that could try to change what I'm seeing now to be more serene like back in the village. 2014, I felt confident enough because I was like the key advisor, the lead designer in all these projects we were doing. And I said, I want to do this as me, and it's time now to speak to the German contacts that I had made and become their local dealer. And that's exactly what I did. And I must say, it was I was amazed by how easy it was. And what I would encourage girls is, you need to be an expert in your field, because the moment I did an email telling my clients I have left, I'm going to start up, all of them were interested. What are you going to do? And when I said I'm going to continue this, but as me, they said, can we have your offers? So that might have made it a little bit easy because I didn't have a lot of capital. So you sort of ride on your first clients and their first payments to give you capital to set up an office. And in brief, that's my story. And I love turning sewage to water. I love keeping people's home green using what they thought is waste. And I believe my customers are happy there, and I'm protecting the environment.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Like I said, let's meet you in the trenches.
Yes.
Does it sound so good? I was like, you know what? It's so true. It's so true.
Stuff.
But what are some of the stereotypes that you've had to deal with? You know, walking and being like, so we're looking for this and this and this, and then you're like there showing up and you're, yeah, this is me and I do exactly that. What are some of the things that you've had to deal with over the years as a woman in these male-dominated fields that you are all in?
I actually one of your producers today.
No. Okay.
Saw
Does
me
that
and
feel her?
saw me and she goes, "Oh my God, you're June." I guess it was a good thing. And she said she didn't imagine I looked like this. She didn't imagine, you know. So that was funny. So we had a laugh about that. But I think for me, one of I've personally had some very difficult situations. I remember in the US, I had gone for a meeting. I was working for a certain company. I'd probably been out of school for maybe 3 or 4 years. So I'd gotten a pretty good job, had, you know, worked my way up, and I found myself in a boardroom. And I was just getting settled, and one of the guys asks me, are you the tea lady?
Can I have a cup of coffee?
Yes. No, it wasn't even, can I have a cup of coffee? Are you the tea lady? Number one, you're black. Number two, you're a woman.
Yeah.
Number three, you probably don't look their age. So I had that experience, and it was really, I said, no, I'm not the tea lady.
Great.
And then I sat down. And that was that. And then we had the meeting, and the meeting ended, and then suddenly now he was being all friendly after the meeting. But anyway, that was that. That really upset me. But then I didn't allow it to kind of like define me, like, do I look like a tea lady? And
Yeah.
what's wrong with being a tea lady? You know, sometimes, I mean, that's the only way some women are able to support their families. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But then don't look down on somebody before you know their story. Because that tea lady probably also has a story, all right? And that tea lady could have a daughter who's sitting in this boardroom,
Absolutely.
you know, with you.
Yeah.
The other really bad experience that I had was in South Africa, where every meeting I went to, I was literally told I was in the wrong place. And that, of course, had a lot to do with race, and it had a lot to do with gender.
Yeah.
So I struggled a lot with that, but I had to always pick myself back up and just and move, you know, and move forward. But I think that when you show strength in situations like that, where you don't get flustered, then you earn that respect.
Absolutely.
Because I always say, I tell my students as well, you've earned being here. Okay, don't let anyone make you feel like you shouldn't be here. So you've earned being here. So that's the one thing you've got to remember. You deserve it. And wherever you've gotten in life, you've gotten there because of you, your sheer hard work, your dreams, your determination, your focus. So you've earned it. So don't let anyone make you feel like, you know, you're lower because you're probably in a career that's chop. I wasn't a chop, by the way, but chop, yeah? Or the most brilliant kid in class or whatever. Because even now when you look back at life, some of those kids who you thought would have been the most successful in life are not.
True.
So you've got to, in our generation right now, and I see it with a lot of parents, where when we were so hard driven with grades, you know, we were made to feel like, I mean, when have you ever used angle theta? Do you remember angle theta? Have you ever used it? Yeah, in your career, or those classes that really intimidated you and scared you, and then you'd get these tests, and then the tests would come, and the girl sitting next to you has 93%, and you have your 32. You know, and then now, because of that drive, I couldn't get that 93 or 98%, but you know what? I'm going to make something of myself. So the struggles are there, even in Kenya.
True.
I mean, I get the Me Too movement, it's here, you know. So you get that a lot. There's you know, there's a lot of chauvinism. There's a lot of talking down. There's a lot of, you know, you're young and you're sitting there and you're thinking, just because, you know, even if I am young, it doesn't mean, you know, I don't deserve to be here. You know, or you're a woman, wewe mwanamke sasa usiongee, you know, all that kind of stuff. So
God.
It's not
true.
The truth is, it's not easy. But you just got to keep pushing through it, because if you don't, then it was all for nothing.
Great.
So,
I don't know, maybe engineer.
Engineer.
I like doing that, just forgive me. But looking back, what are some of the moments where you've literally had to pick yourself up? I don't know what that point was, but I think we have challenges in everything, especially because you started a business, and it is not easy being an entrepreneur, and especially a female entrepreneur doing engineering and now ecosystems, and making sure that you are turning all these things into water that we can use. And what are some of the challenges, and how did you pick yourself up from that?
Okay, I would like to start further, even before EcoCycle, because you're asking moments that I had to pick myself up. As I said, I began in the automotive industry. And well, maybe I was fascinated about cars, but maybe that is the opportunity that was available, but it was not my passion. So what happened is I left university, and within a span of 3 years, I had surveyed all the 3 leading companies, DT Dobby, Toyota East Africa, General Motors. And the thing is, I would get in there and I get so bored so fast by the repetitive work that happens. And my mother would go like, are you crazy? Everybody is looking for work and you're busy just living. So back in my mind, I used to still feel there's something more that I need to search for. So after all this changing and moving, even at one time I had a stint at Safaricom trying to get into the technical field, but they land me in customer care as I wait, and I quit like in 5 months. So one time I just quit work and I said, now I need to pursue this dream of there's a solution that I'm looking for in my mind, and I really wanted to go abroad. So I quit work and I didn't have work, and I tried to make applications and I was not getting work for like 3 or 6 months. I was jobless at a time. So my mother is telling me, I told you, you didn't listen. But I said, Mom, I know I have a great purpose. That's why I'm just getting bored and moving. So to cut the story short, in that time is when I finally landed the German opportunity. In all this joblessness and feeling down and just sitting in my bed sitter and wondering what next, I still felt there's something. So what I would encourage the young ladies or anyone, sometimes you may go through a down moment for soul searching and go through a really low moment, but you don't lose your hope, you keep to your dream. Now back to EcoCycle and starting up in business and techpreneurship and all this, it's really difficult, especially when you're introducing a new technology that does not really exist in Africa and not very well known. So the thing of age, and you're a woman, very young, it's not like you get it outrightly, but you walk into a room you want to present and you feel like there's doubt in the air. So what I always tell even younger ladies as I'm mentoring them, because when we walk into a room as a lady to present things, you have this, you're being looked at as just as a woman. So you need to quickly shorten that period of being looked at a woman and by going to the point. So then you need expertise. You need to be have very good command of what you're talking about. Then you shorten that span and they move on now. Now we are with you, now we are with you, now you're talking our stuff, and then the woman thing you'll have.
And then when the guys come on, they start with jokes, get you comfortable. And that brings me to the next question, Nekesa. And does it feel like, as a woman in this male-dominated industries, you have to work like twice, 3 times as hard? You know?
Yes, definitely. You definitely have to work as hard. If a man is working 100%, you have to work 200%. Wow. You have to be 100% louder in a room, but also you need to work smarter, right? And so if I take the example of the software developers that I work with, when they're female and in their different jobs, in their different organizations, a lot of them will tell you that it's really difficult being in a team with men, especially when it comes to having to present the work that you've done. Because naturally, perhaps, men will be a lot more vocal, and you'll find that sometimes they take the shine away from you, even if it's that you did a lot more of the coding or a lot better coding, you know, that whoever you're presenting to will never know. So I've found that when I'm mentoring women, I need to teach them how to talk about their work and talk about themselves, talk about their worth, talk about what they bring to the table. Because if they don't, you know, no one's going to do it for them. Yeah, and so they have to, so the thing is, other than learning how to code, they also have to learn how to speak and how to communicate, you know, so they can be heard in a room. We've also, as a community of women in tech, learned that we really need to look out for each other. And so if there's 2 of us in a room, and I can see that the lady next to me, that they're not listening to what she has to say, I'm going to insist, and I'm going to say, excuse me, she has something to say. And I'm going to make sure that she, you know, that she gets it said. But also we need to work smarter. And so again, in my industry, especially when it comes to conferences and so on, there's panels, you know, and what have you. And then because it's a male-dominated industry, many times it's going to be a panel full of men. And right now, I'm glad that the narrative, I mean, so right now we're getting to a point where you don't want to have a panel full of men because you won't hear the end of it. And so a lot of people are making sure that the panels are well mixed, well balanced. But the thing is, are you really looking, really paying attention to what's this woman's skill set because it's relevant to my panel, or are you just trying to tick a box? You know, and sometimes people are just trying to tick a box. They're not really interested in who you are, they're interested in how you look. But what we've learned is, you know what, take it in your stride, just get yourself to that panel, and then let yourself be heard. So that's what I mean about speaking smarter. Sometimes people will include you just to tick a box, but you get your foot, you know, in the door, and then show them what they've been missing.
I'm more than a box. I'm more than a tick in a box.
Exactly.
And I see my producer doing time is up, time is up. So I'm going to ask the final question to each and every one of you. Probably just one word to that woman who's afraid to probably step into this box, or probably looking for mentorship, and you know, your social media platforms and how people can get in touch with you, if not for mentorship, or probably just to get into a field that they're interested in, that the three of you are probably in right now. Okay, so word of advice and social media. All right, okay.
My word of advice is cliche, and it's really follow your dreams. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you cannot do anything.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I appreciate so much about my dad specifically is he never made me feel like I couldn't. Whatever I wanted to do, he was like, do it. What do you need? You know? So just having that support, especially from family. If you have family, and sometimes family will not support you. Sometimes your friends will support you. Sometimes your friends won't support you. Sometimes, you know, strangers will support you. But I feel that you've got to look out for yourself. Don't depend so much. Oh, so-and-so is not supporting me. Look out for yourself and believe in yourself. In terms of getting in touch, sanididesignGroup.com, or you can find me at the University of Nairobi. You can go there and ask for me. They will show you where to find me. Or you can get in touch with your producer. She'll tell you how to find me.
That means talk to us on social media. KTN Life and Style on Facebook, KTN Life_Style on Twitter and Instagram.
To the young ladies out there, and actually any young person, one thing that I like to say is passion, confidence, and believe in yourself. Because when you're passionate about something, you will follow it to the true end. And for the ladies, we've been saying here, anytime you walk into a room, especially in the male-dominated fields, you cause attention. So use this attention to your advantage. Don't feel like it's a stereotype. Use that attention to wow them with your expertise, to wow them with your knowledge, and that will make you get into the conversation and be believed by them. And never stop believing that whatever you dream about, you can achieve. And confidence will just cut it all, and you will be able to maneuver. So on social media, my company is at EcoCycle Limited on Facebook, on Twitter, on everything, on LinkedIn. And personally, I'm Engineer Lucy Wanjiko on Facebook and Mutinda Lucy on Twitter and LinkedIn again. So you can reach me out there. And I do a lot of mentorship actually through my tweets. I just encourage people. Yeah.
My word would be that science, technology, education, arts, maths do not know any gender. If it's something you want to do, go ahead and do it. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't. And do not for a moment feel that you're alone. There's a huge community of women in tech that are waiting for you to support you. There's a huge mentorship network. The iHub alone has 100% women in leadership. My entire leadership team is women. Wow. And we are waiting for other women in tech. So there's people that are going to take over from us. So please come out and meet us halfway. Be vocal about what it is that you need, so we best know how to support you. You can reach us on Twitter at iHub, that's IHUB, and you can reach me personally on Twitter at Nekesa, Nekesa.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming, ladies. And thank you for mentoring and encouraging and loving and doing what you do. Just by doing that, you're changing the world one day at a time. And that is what we need, guys. So if you're young and you're a woman out there, you need to be vocal, you need to be passionate, you need to be smart, and do not give up, because like Nekesa said, there is nothing that is related to a certain gender, and they have proved that to us today. So go ahead and live those dreams. Just do it, like Nike. We're taking a very short commercial break. When we come back, we have Books and Blogs with Catherine Wangi.